Another month, another entry into the Buffyverse, and this is Angel Season 2, or what Season 1 should have been, as I like to call it. Now, okay, there are certain threads that were set up in Season 1 that may have been rushed to try and fit them in with everything else that happened this year, but I really think this was a stronger year than Season 1. I think the confidence they'd gotten from a year under their belt, granted, probably gave them the ability to do this year as well as they did. But they'd got years of Buffy, really. You know, many of them had come over. So I don't think it flies. In any other series, yes, the first year being a bit rocky, okay, fine. But I think Season 1 of Angel could have been stronger. This year they didn't lean too much on the serious. They didn't get, you know, super heavy and brooding all the time. They really leaned into the silly in the last few episodes in particular. But, you know, it had the darkness. We had a very, very good character arc for Angel. A great character arc, and really something that cemented David's acting capabilities to me. I always found him kind of okay on Buffy, and Season 1 was like, alright. But the sort of descent into darkness, the absolute despair that he gets to in Season 2, then turning around and sort of coming out of that in a very natural way. I mean, yeah, obviously the writers have a lot to be proud of there too, but you can write the best words in the world. You could write Shakespeare, but if your actor is wooden, it will still not sound good. So this is very much, you know, a meeting of those two parts, and everyone did so well with it. Of course, one of the threads that we had to pick up from the first year was the return of Darla, and this is obviously part of the descent into darkness. The fact that her coming back human messes him up. If she'd come back as a vampire, fine, you know, but he can't kill a human. There is hope. There is always hope. And she deals with, you know, similar ideas to how he had to deal with a soul, the weight of what he'd done. You can see it's weighing on her, because as sick and twisted as Angel is, Darla wasn't far behind. Yes, she's said many times that he kind of surpassed her in sickness and complete depravity. But she'd been doing it for longer, and she wasn't that far off, really. We do get some great crossover moments still, you know, but this year is very much free from the spectre of Buffy. That shadow is no longer hanging over it every single week. Even if she's not mentioned, you know it's there. This year, it was kind of, it's there in the background. You know they're part of the same world, but it's not in your face. You know, obviously the sort of companion piece to what was happening in Season 5 of Buffy, which we'll cover next month, you know, was great. That whole sort of going back in time. Because if you watch them back to back, you see the same scenes that are used, like particularly that slow-mo shot as they're walking through the Box of Rebellion. In Buffy, that looks like, you know, they're all like, yeah, we've got this. Here, we know that's not the case. This is a very different, and I love the fact that the same scenes can play differently. But I think I'll cover that more in the highlights video, because that is a definite highlight of this season. But we did get, you know, a lot introduced this year that would definitely move forward and would sort of give Angel its own voice in so many ways. Like I say, it wasn't leaning so much on the dark brooding, despair, etc. Well, after the first few episodes anyway. You know, well, after about the midpoint. But we had the introduction of Lorne, you know, played by the late Andy Hallett. Definitely a loss. Great singer, great actor. Seems like a really decent guy. Just really sad that he passed, unfortunately. But he was such a definite voice, really, for what would come. He was the little guy on the shoulder of Angel, kind of going, hey, what about this? Can we do this? How are we going to move forward like this? And his arc, really, throughout the next 4 years, was amazing. And every month that we're covering Angel, I do want to sort of do a piece on Lorne's arc, because he starts just as a fun guy, and what happens to his character over the years just really is heartbreaking in many ways. It's you know, it's just such a great arc, and again, like I say, such a great loss that we're never going to see Lorne played properly to me ever again. But the other big introduced character, of course, is right towards the end, last few episodes, and that's Fred. Again, something that would guide so much of how the future played out. And again, her arc, you know, she struggles to deal with the last few years in Pylea. Once she's kind of repaired of that, she doesn't really get that long. She only gets a couple of years of happiness, if you will, and a meaningful life before bad things happen. But we'll come to that towards the end of the year. But yeah, the Pylea section, I think, is very divisive. Some people love it because it's like, okay, you are just embracing the weird. You are just going your own direction. You are marching to the beat of your own drummer. And I love that. I think it worked. I loved it for it. But some people don't. Some people think that was really silly and really hate the idea of this kind of thing. And I'm just like, if you've come over from Buffy, you have a problem with this? Really? You know, that was quite tame by what could happen. But it's such a great idea to look at a different world. You know, we've not really delved into sort of alternate or parallel universes that are kind of light-hearted. We've seen Hell Dimensions and we've gone to, like, you know, a darker version of Sunnydale, but we've never seen the world that has no shrimp or nothing but shrimp. But we've also never seen, until this point, something very light and kind of just basically like medieval themed world. And it was such a great way to kind of give us something different. Yes, it shows how, you know, Wolfram and Hart are everywhere. They are a multi-dimensional corporation, and that's terrifying. The implications of that are terrifying. You see, it still manages to do that seriousness, even in the silliest parts. But, you know, it was a great idea. And of course, we've got to see what the beast inside of Angel possibly looks like. I mean, I think this may be a Pylean version of a vampire. Like, when he's transferred over, that whatever like a vampire would be in this world is what's there. I don't know if that's actually the demon that's inside of all vampires, because the spininess doesn't bear out. If you look at Master, you know, the Master and older vampires like that, they don't have spines. They just have these bat-like features. And I would assume that the pure vampire would look a lot more bat-like. Also, if we look at season 7 of Buffy, the Turok, which are kind of like Neanderthals for vampires, so I don't see how there would be such a massive design shift. So I think this is Pylea's version of vampires, and something in the dimensional transfer, the mysticism involved in that, made him like a local vampire. So he's still a vampire, but he wasn't an Earth vampire. I hope that made sense. But yeah, so it gave us a lot to work with, and like I say, it gave us a lot that resolved old issues, and also gave us new issues to work from. You know, the fact that the group was kind of splintered and the trip to Pylea was kind of the cementing factor, I think was beautiful. But it does end on a low note, and obviously we're going to talk about that more, I think, when we get to Buffy, because, yeah, he gets told that she sacrificed herself right at the end. And this is obviously what leads into season 3 of Angel, and obviously what happens there is its own thing. But in a few weeks, couple of weeks or so, I'll be coming back for the overview, coming back for the highlight reel. This was the overview. So I do hope you'll join me there, and for everything in between. But as always, thank you for watching, and take care.